One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Dr. Nancy Hixson. Nancy is the Chief Executive Officer for the Air Force Academy Athletic Corporation. Greetings, Nancy. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, Nancy, the Air Force Academy Athletic Corporation, of course, you're heading up that operation now. Your background, you've been in college athletics for 15 years. You worked in sports and recreation for, I guess we'll say, 25 years total, and that includes minor league baseball. And of course, you were with the Sports Commission in Colorado Springs, which, as you've mentioned, is the amateur athletic capital of the world with plenty Olympic operations and a variety of other things. This Air Force Academy Athletic Corporation, can you describe to us why it was created? I think it was back in 2013, and then how that business model was set up with respect to the athletics department there at Air Force Academy?
Sure. Well, it's a kind of a complicated and interesting path that the AFAAC, as we like to call it, everything in government has an acronym, right? So we're the AFAAC. This is something that's been in the works since the early 2000s, and really the reason that this thought process of creating an independent nonprofit revenue generation arm of the athletic department here at the Academy was solely based on funding. The pace of government budgeting was really not keeping up with the growth that Division I athletics continues to see. And so there was also some restrictions regarding fundraising and how they could enter into partnerships because when I started at the Academy, even though I was a contractor, all under an umbrella that really skewed more towards a government company. And that comes with an awful lot of restrictions. So the thought was, let's make this independent company, has the ability to fundraise, has the ability to be really efficient from a business standpoint, and to grow in ways and at a pace that the government side wouldn't be able to keep up with. And funding was a piece of it too, that I think that there was some shortfalls year after year. So some smart folks 15 years ago or so got together. It took almost 8-9 years to work legislation and work through some of the wickets on the government side of the house to really figure out how are the lines of authority and what will this look like. And we're the only entity that has this nonprofit that works on behalf of a government agency. So rather unique and interesting education for me and certainly the challenge of my career so far.
Right, and it sounds very interesting. I wonder about the thought process of creating the organization. What was the genesis of that thought? Did it come from within athletics, or was it a group of individuals or entities trying to solve the funding problem? How did that come about?
If memory serves me correct, our vice athletic director was a former attorney. And so I think he really started the process of at least asking the questions of why not and what if, and let's see what we can accomplish. And took several years. It kind of died initially after a year or two, and then I would say in 2010, 11, it really started gaining speed again. And then, of course, you have to involve attorneys and resource managers from the Pentagon to really figure out how this is going to look moving forward. So we stood up the organization in 2013. There was a couple of years beforehand that I was involved before it was a full-blown, we flipped the lights on July 1st of 2013. So it's really been, for me, about 7 or 8 years of putting this together and working with so many different entities to make it work.
Nancy, I want to ask you about your specific role, but before we get to that, I wonder about the structure. Is it similar to an external operations in an athletic department on the campus that's not a government entity? I mean, tell me about the functionality of the actual entity.
You bet. And this is I think another piece that kind of makes it unique to Air Force athletics. Imagine an athletic department really splitting in half. And so the AFAAC oversees all revenue generating pieces of what a typical Division I athletic department would look like. And so that's marketing and ticketing, development, our team store, special events, our sports camps. Anything that generates revenue stays on the AFAAC side of the street. The other side is really more military. And so only 5 of our 27 sports kind of fall under the umbrella of the AFAAC, and those are our revenue generating sports. And then we have 22 others that have remained Olympic sports to compare apples to apples. Our Olympic sports are on the government side. We also have PE that falls underneath, PE and testing that falls under athletics on the government side as well. So structurally, this is where it really kind of gets complicated. The athletic director sits on my board of directors. I have 9 members of the board that are appointed by the Secretary of the Air Force and serve at the pleasure of the Secretary of the Air Force. And so when it comes down to day-to-day discussions, we work hand in hand on everything from contract negotiations with our coaches to scheduling, recruiting issues, large-scale corporate partnerships. But that responsibility, the partnerships in particular, reside with me, and then we work in conjunction to make any personnel decisions together.
Okay, so you'll have to help me out here. That setup sounds a bit complexing, right? Can you expound a little more on your role and the relationship with the Director of Athletics, Colonel Jenn Block there, and how the whole setup works?
Well, I'll start by saying that Colonel Block is doing a great job, and I truly enjoy our partnership. And she is the third athletic director since the AFAAC stood up. Dr. Hans Mew who's with us for 10 or 11 years and was instrumental in setting the company up. And then we had Jim Knowlton, who's now at Cal, for 3 years. And, I'll share this. I remember when Jim was really at the final stages of deciding about taking the job or not. We spent a tremendous amount of time on the phone together just for him to get his arms around, okay, walk me through this scenario. What does this look like? And, it really is rather unique. But I think that if you have the right personalities in place and you have the right mindset that our cadet athletes are, at the end of the day, what we're all here to support and to provide opportunities for them, it really does work. But there are some pieces of the relationship that are rather complicated. I have 4 different colors of money within the AFAAC, whether it's through government grants or through fundraising entities, and there's pieces of what we have been asked to do on behalf of the Air Force Academy for mission essential pieces of the athletic department. So there's a heavy amount of oversight and auditing that goes along with what we do. And I would still tell you, after 5.5 years of being in business, every single week we're looking at adjusting some of our protocols and some of our administrative oversight to make it work. But the funding model is really working. The relationship with the government, once you can parse out who does what and where the lines of authority reside. Have I lost you? I know it gets really complicated really quickly.
This is great. I'm learning a lot here, actually.
But we have a manual, we have a game plan that our government friends have given us, and so a third of our business, we have funding that comes from the government. We're about a $26 million entity. I think the athletic department total is between 55 and 60. So our footprint is just about half as well. So there are some pretty specific restrictions on how we can use money, but we are funded in such a way that we do the best that we possibly can with funds that are given to us, and we've received some great efficiencies and some really big milestones for the Academy with capital projects and things that the AFAAC has been able to be a part of.
So, Nancy, it's interesting because you don't come from a military background. So how does that makeup work in terms of you working at the Air Force Academy in such an influential role? And then, of course, Jenn Block, she's obviously military. Tell me about the makeup of that, civilian and military and leadership and influence there on campus.
Yeah, you bet. It's a really wonderful corporate culture and unique too, I think. And I know that I'm a non-grad and I've never served this great country, but I am exponentially proud to be even associated with such an amazing institution. And when I look in the faces of our young men and women who will be the future leaders of this nation, we're in good hands for sure. But from a cultural standpoint in the athletic department, almost everyone, and it's almost split, right down the middle. We've got about 127 employees, and I would say that almost exactly the same on the government side. Almost everyone on the AFAAC side is a civilian, and with no background in any kind of active duty we have ones and twos, and then I would say almost everyone on the government side has had some background. So it is a wonderful mesh of kind of two worlds, really, within the athletic department that makes it a really unique environment.
Right. And when you say government, the people who report to the athletics director, that's the government. So everybody there is military background.
Yes, it is.
Everybody with AFAAC.
So on that side, you'll have active duty, like Colonel Block is an active duty colonel, of course. And there's a fleet of active duty military personnel. And then, of course, there's government contractors who make up the balance.
I would imagine for the director of athletics, that's a big piece that she can focus on everything else that an athletic director has to focus on while you handle money, right? You handle revenue, you handle those things. Let me go make sure this environment is correct so our student athletes / cadets have the best possible experience that they could have while they're here on campus. Seems like it could be an excellent setup as long as you said, the communication lines are there and everything is spelled out clearly.
No, I agree with you. This is a big job. The athletic director position at the Academy, Air Force Academy, is really big. Not only do you have 27 intercollegiate sports, and we also have cheer and boxing, so we count 29. You have an entire fleet of physical education courses and instructors that go along with that. And then a third component is that the athletic department is responsible for all athletic testing of the entire cadet wing. So, of course, there are benchmarks. There's militarily, academically, and athletically that each cadet must meet. And so that athletic piece falls under the athletic director as well. So I think to your point, that's a great way to look at it, that it is might be helpful and could be nice to have a fully functioning, business arm of the athletic department. That's great. I'm going to use that when I describe it to people.
Well, Nancy, this has been a very insightful conversation here on the setup there with the Air Force Academy Athletic Corporation, and of course, your relationship with Colonel Jenn Block as the Director of Athletics there on campus. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the time.
That was Dr. Nancy Hixson. She's the Chief Executive Officer at the Air Force Academy Athletic Corporation, or AFAAC as they call it. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.